Hey everybody, Chris Scott here. Welcome to our podcast. I'm really excited to be back in the studio today. I feel like the last time we were here, the world has changed quite a bit. It's only been a month, and we're coming into spring market here in Ottawa, and we're going to talk a little bit about how that's going so far, where we see the market going. But I mean, so much happening in Canada, and obviously we have a majority government as of last night, which is very interesting in its own right. We have everything going on overseas in the Middle East. We have, Ontario, having some new policies with the HST rebates that are directly impacting our housing market. So I feel like there's a lot to delve into, and I think it's a time when a lot of people are really wondering what's happening with the market. I think people have asked me that question more this year than they've ever asked me. And I'm a realtor. I get asked that question a lot. How's the market? And I feel like I'm gonna have to tell them you have to watch the podcast because the answer is not simple right now. There's so many moving parts with everything going on, and I'm joined with my by my partner here, Colin, who's along for the ride. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And so, when you get that question, and I'm sure you get that question a lot, what's your answer?
I say, what day is it? Things change a lot these
Yeah,
days. I mean, and that's the reality. We've talked before about micro markets. You can't just, you know, give blanket statistics for Ottawa or most cities right now as far as how real estate is doing.
right.
I think there's lots of things affecting our market, but affecting everything right now, right? I mean, yeah, you referenced a couple of things there. I think the biggest up and down right now is the Middle East. Um,
Like, it's having an impact because it's consumer confidence, right? People are
well,
just weary of, first of all, they're seeing, the cost of gas go up. I mean, everybody's feeling that right away. So you add that to inflation, things are more expensive, uh, less disposable income. Maybe people maybe waiting to see what's going to happen with that.
I think the bigger picture though is the inflation itself, right? I
Mhm.
mean, we entered the year talking about how the Bank of Canada, are they going to change their rates? Are they going to lower their rates? Probably not even change them by the end of the year. And now, they're, with inflation concerns, which is not under control for whatever reason. I mean, because of, gas, et cetera.
Yeah.
Are they going to maybe raise their rates? I mean, that was a conversation I had for a week or so,
Mhm.
because inflation is an issue. We got to get that in check. And then we have a little bit of calm in the Middle East for, a week or two. And now things are back a little more calm here as well. And
Yeah. I
maybe nothing's going to happen.
don't know if I call what's happening in the Middle East
Yeah.
calm right now,
Yeah,
but
I guess. Well, ask again tomorrow,
yeah.
right? Like,
So okay, so let's start with interest rates. Obviously, that's a huge factor for buying. What we've seen is the 5-year fixed rate actually go up a little bit because it's tied to the bond market.
yeah.
So if you're advising a client, would you be advising to go variable, or would you be advising? I know we're not mortgage brokers, but that is a question I get a lot.
I'm a variable guy
Yeah,
overall.
yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I I mean, I'm locking in a renewal right now,
yeah.
and the way it's looking for me, even though they're pretty close, I do think variable is where I'm going to go. I do think the trajectory long term over the next couple of years is we're going to see rates still come down. I,
hmm
I I still do believe that because I do feel like we're going to need it. Um, but when I think about like everything that's happening, we look at last night, Carney, and I don't want to get into politics, but it is important because all of these things are going to have an impact on what we are talking about, which is, the Ottawa housing market. And, they secure a majority government, which is the first time I've seen that happen where they, secured in such a way with crossings and by-elections. But, all in all, I think, people are reasonably optimistic about our government for the
hmm
first time in I think a long time. I'm not saying everybody is supporting the Liberals right now, but the favorability rating on Mark Carney is almost at 70%, which is
It's big time.
unheard of for any politician.
Yeah.
And I think what they see so far, or at least what I'm seeing, is somebody that is, doing his best to get along with other politicians of different, parties provincially. Whether that's the premier in Alberta or Doug Ford. The first thing Mark Carney said to Doug Ford when they met is, "I'm more conservative than you are." That's what he said
Yeah.
to Doug Ford when they first met. Obviously, they're getting like a little bit of a bromance happening right
Yeah.
now and getting
Love it.
along really well. So it'll be interesting to see how their policies and the policies of the government in general are going to affect things with the government or with the housing market. But what I'm already seeing is they have made an announcement that, as most people are aware, that HST is coming off of new home purchases up to a certain amount. But basically, anything under $1 million, your HST is going to be taken off. So I'm already noticing that's having a massive impact on certain segments of the market in Ottawa.
Hmm.
And when I look at yesterday as an example, I looked at all the firm sales. So Minto is, I would say, one of the biggest developers in Ottawa, no question. Been around for a long time. One thing that Minto does that other developers don't do, or a lot of them don't do, is they have deep pockets. So they can build a whole bunch of inventory homes. And what they've done this year is they've put it out on a lot of them listed on the MLS. It was slow for them. So when it's slow, they tend to list with an agent on the MLS. And what I've seen since the HST rebate came in place, and I've been over to the sales center, basically they're not even returning calls. They're so busy.
So
They've sold 25 inventory homes the first day, which was unheard of, the busiest day they've had in years. And yesterday, when I looked at the firm sales in Ottawa, there was, the time I looked, I think it was afternoon, there was 22 firm sales in Ottawa for the day, which means that, all MLS across Ottawa, 22 houses went firm. The conditions were removed. 8 of them were new builds with Minto, just that one builder that happens to be on the MLS, just one builder. So you think about all the other builders that are also selling a lot of inventory that are not necessarily have their houses listed on the MLS.
mhm.
That's something that nobody's talking about, but it's having a major impact on people that are trying to resell their homes right now.
Yeah. So my question is, how long do you think this lasts? Right? Because
Right.
for me, a little bit of this,
Mhm.
it helps everybody who can get into this rebate. It's going to make buying a house like that more affordable. For me, it's going to help clear out a lot of inventory that builders have sitting around that they can't
Mm,
sell. People will flock to the presentation centers. They will buy a lot of them.
yeah.
But then I think we're going to be in a situation where, not everybody can move into a home that's not ready for another year,
Agreed.
right?
Yeah.
Or I guess doesn't they don't want to buy a home where they also then after they purchase it have to add eaves troughs, appliances,
Fencing.
fencing, live in a construction zone, et cetera, right? So I think that it serves a purpose now for us as well as the builders, but I think that we might not see that continue if the inventory dwindles. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
And yeah, depending on the builder, I know some builders have a lot of inventory. I mean, to be honest, yeah, it feels a little bit like a builder bailout.
Bailout.
You know what I mean? Like, really, I mean, obviously it's helping them right now, but if I was somebody who happened to purchase a new home 2 or 3 months ago,
Am I cheesed off a little bit?
and I spent $1 million, and now a house beside me, right beside me, is going to be $100,000 less. I mean, I think I'd be pretty upset about it because, obviously you're losing some equity, but I guess there's no perfect way to do it. But where I look at it is the impact it's having on my current clientele. We have listings all over the city right now, but there's a couple in particular that are very much in neighborhoods where people could be looking at new or resell.
Yeah.
And it's like I have one in particular that I know would be 100% sold if it wasn't for these rebates, where these buyers are looking elsewhere because these places just became so much more affordable, where you had to pay a premium for these new homes over a resale home for the most
Mhm.
part, and now it's almost reversed overnight to being the opposite position, where you get a new house for actually less than what a resale could be. Obviously, there's differences depending on where you're looking, but in a nutshell, that's kind of what's happening. So it's very interesting to see that. We'll see, what kind of impact that has. To your point, as some of this inventory gets absorbed
Mhm.
by the marketplace in terms of the new builds,
Mhm.
we'll start seeing that slow down a bit. But definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's certainly an important part of the conversation when I'm talking to sellers. Obviously, it's the time of year. We've been taking a lot of calls from people who are asking about the market. Is it the right time to list? Is it the right year?
Right,
But that's part of the equation now is, I live in Finley Creek. And so we've got some older homes. We've got some newer homes that are resale homes now. They've been around for 2 or 3 years. And then we've also got to compete against the homes that are brand new from a couple different builders. And that just changes a couple things,
for sure.
including a list price. I mean, sale prices, I guess, are a little bit down. Looking at the stats for the last month or so, they're a bit down. But
It really depends on the neighborhood.
for
It's
me, it's
crazy.
about the neighborhood and
Yeah.
it's about the list price. I mean, there's just more options for people. Uh, where that wasn't an option before to buy a new build, now it is, and now your list price does have to change
Mm.
if you want to stay competitive and be the next house to sell.
Which can be frustrating because I'll tell you, I haven't seen very often where you have a well-conditioned home, a well-priced home, well-marketed, not just sitting
Yeah,
and not even getting a lot of showings.
yeah.
It's like, well, what is going on, right? So I don't think the market is as good as people think it is. Like just telling you. I mean, I hate to say that, but
Hmm.
right now I don't feel like we have that spring momentum yet. And I feel like we've been waiting for it, in terms of, okay, after the Easter weekend, things are going to pick up. And hey, this is when it picks up. We're ready to go. Easter weekend comes, the next week comes. And yeah, there's some listings, but the buyers are not out there. And, obviously the HST, rebate gets put in place. So the resale market's a little quieter. And now we're waiting for the nicer weather to see if that's the issue. So, I mean, is it because it's been another long winter and it's, the nice weather's not here and people aren't out yet, or is it still early? Is this going to hit late? Like, but I mean, we're mid-April right now. I feel like we should be busier. I mean, I feel like the market. Not that we're not busy. I mean, we're busy. We're doing a whole bunch of stuff,
Hmm.
and we're selling some homes, but it's just like we're not as transactional as we were.
No.
A year ago at this time, and I've been speaking with agents, of course, mastermind with agents. I'm talking to somebody yesterday who does, 300 deals a year, and he's saying his team's the same. He
Yeah.
says, they're busy, but they're not making as many deals as they were a year ago or 2 years ago. So,
No. The
uh,
positive there for me, though, is
yeah,
that people are getting off the fence. I think there were some people in the last year or two who were just waiting. And I think
right.
we were building after whatever holiday, maybe in February, things were looking up. We get through this weekend, and now we're going to start looking for a home. I think there was momentum building. A lot of people were got their pre-approvals for their mortgage, and then a couple bumps in the road. I mean, they're big bumps. They're global, but I think a little bit of the momentum was taken away. I think we need a little bit of stability. I think a majority government can sometimes represent that at
I
home a
agree.
little
Yeah,
bit,
for
right? We
sure.
can start getting things done, putting policies in place that aren't going to be challenged all the time. So we got a little bit of that back, but if we get just a little bit more stability, I think people are ready to start making purchases. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I like your optimism.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, I look at the sales numbers for March, and we had 1,075 sales in March in Ottawa. Put that in perspective. Last year there was 1,128 sales. But in the bigger picture, over the past 10 years, it's among the lowest of March sales in the last 10 years. So uh, numbers are not great. It's not like they're way lower, but they are down a little bit from a sales number. Prices are pretty flat.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's for me, that's the bigger metric, I think. I mean, lower sales, we've had that for a while, but our price is going down. No,
no,
no.
no, no.
And
Yeah, slightly actually. I mean, if you depending on the neighborhood, I mean, I am seeing prices slightly go down in the suburban neighborhoods so far this year, with the exception of Orleans, which was already lower priced to begin with. But
Mhm.
when I look at most metrics, like, well, here I'll pull them up right now. We're on a podcast. We
Pull
got
them
time
up.
for this stuff. Like I'll give you an example. We'll just take a couple here just to see here. So Stittsville average, detached home 2026. The two car garage detached home. 951 so far. Last year we
Last
were at
year, 980.
966. Oh my God, I'm gonna need glasses. Jesus, can read this. It's about that time, eh? Uh, Stittsville, we're looking at row units slightly down from 656 last year to 648 this year. So it's not major stuff, but the same thing in Canada. Prices uh, detached, one car garage. 702 last year, 676 this year. So there's a
That's a
difference.
bigger gap. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Same thing with detached, two-car garage. So, yeah, anyway, very interesting to see, kind of what's happening in those neighborhoods where, we have listing downtown, a couple listings downtown and a couple in Westboro, those areas, and we are seeing in some of those neighborhoods, prices are pretty consistent where they were last year, getting a little bit more activity, which is interesting because some of them are luxury properties.
Hmm.
Um, Months worth of inventory, we're going into that balanced market that maybe favors buyers in certain segments. We've talked about that before. And then it's like, okay, looking ahead, where are things going to go over the next month? I mean, to your point, I do think that we will see a little bit of momentum, coming. I do believe that. I think we're all waiting for that, and I do think that's going to be coming in the second half of April. We do a lot of military stuff, and I have noticed that there has been a bit of a delay this year with our military house hunting trips. We're starting to get people are starting to get in touch with us now,
Hmm.
whereas maybe last year they were in touch with us a couple weeks into March. So that's kind of changed a little bit. A lot of people are selling their house in their cities too before they come. So maybe that relocation, there's a lot of people that come for that is a little bit behind.
Hmm.
And it's really interesting because Ottawa's, market that we have what's happening here. I was just talking to somebody yesterday that's coming from Winnipeg on a relocation, and they're going to be putting their house up, and they have an offer date set, and they're expecting to get $100,000 over their asking price. So
Well, there you go.
it's like
In the
every
clear.
every market
Yeah.
is very very different, right? So.
Yeah. Interesting.
But that's what I'm seeing right now with the market, and like, where do you think it goes? Where do you feel like the spring market goes?
Uh, it can only go up. I think that it's going to be strong. I think that what I've seen so far is that we're keeping pace. Houses are being absorbed at a good pace, like that matches new homes coming to market and
Yeah.
inventory
And
that's
things
already
things are taking
existing.
longer to sell too. So I didn't actually go through that with the numbers, but every one of them is like double digits increase in number of
In
days on the
days on
market.
market.
So,
Yeah.
which is hard. It's hard for sellers right now. It's hard to be on the market, well priced, well presented. You look at the comps, you're nicer than the comps that, had maybe sold 6 months ago, and you're like, well, my house is nicer than that. It's well priced, it's ready to go. Why are we on the market at 32 days here? Why are we not?
Yeah.
So why are we even thinking about a price reduction? Like, well, I mean, the market is the market, and there are a lot of moving parts with what we're talking about today that are impacting things, and
Yeah.
so it'll be interesting to see where that goes from here.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. I think it's going to depend on a couple of things that are out of Ottawa's control
Right.
a little bit. But I think overall, I think the appetite is there.
Mhm.
And, you know, I think that days on market will go up usually when there's more choices. I mean, for whatever reason, we've talked about this. When buyers have more choices, they take longer. I don't know, they like that luxury they have of time to be able to consider things. I don't know, go back to a house two or three times. I mean, I've seen
Sure.
that.
Or negotiate, and if they don't come to a deal, just
Yeah,
walk
then they're
away,
fine to
right?
walk away,
We've
right?
had that happen too, where,
Yeah.
like, okay, well, we'll find a place, another, seller that is willing to go lower, and
Yeah.
and and I think they wanna, some buyers wanna feel like they're getting a good deal
Yeah, and I don't
on
always
stuff,
think that
right?
they're making the best choice.
Mhm.
I mean, it's all case by case, but I mean, doing that doesn't necessarily get you a better deal or a better house. But that's how buyers are acting. And I think more than anything, it's managing a seller's expectations.
Right.
If they think their house is going to sell in a week because it's better than the last one that sold, that's just not necessarily true. You're going to get a bunch of showings and people don't submit an offer. There used to be a formula almost,
Mm,
10 showings, no offer, it means this, or 2 weeks on the market and only this number of showings and no offer, it means,
right.
I don't think it means that necessarily anymore. I think we have to extend those timelines, have a little bit more patience,
I think
and
you
know
I
our
think you
value.
I think you need patience, but, I also feel like as more inventory is coming on the market, you also have to be very competitive to sell.
Yeah,
Right.
but some of that inventory was on the market last year,
Mhm,
and buyers are still shopping. They recognize, like, they see the houses that they saw last year,
mhm.
and some homes are coming up again in certain pockets, maybe, but good homes come up in even those suburban areas that we talk about, and there's a lot of people ready to get into them and buy them if they're at the right price.
Yeah, it's interesting when I look at the days on market too, just to circle back to that. I mean, you know, they're all up across the board. I mean, if I look at like, Barhaven as an example. So we look at sales are down, and as I mentioned, this is just one segment that I'm just pulling out here. Row three-story townhouse. Um, Last year, 2025, year to date, 17 days on market. This year to date, just that one segment, 56 days on market. That's a massive change.
Whoa.
And those are not even realistic numbers. What I mean by that is the one thing with the board are, who, keeps track of these statistics for us, what they don't do is when people relist, which almost everybody's doing now, they don't take in consideration the previous time on market when they're putting out these statistics. So these are way more days on market basically for across the board. So when you see days on market stats in newspapers, that type of thing, they haven't got the formula right yet. It's not accurate. Add, probably 50% of that, and then you'll probably find a more suitable number. So then maybe people are seeing, okay, well, the average is 35 days and we're on for 32 days. Why have we not sold yet? Or, well, it's actually longer than that.
Hmm.
So to your point earlier, patience is the key this year. Maybe that's the word of the year for the auto real estate market is patience. I still see, a market that's going to grow over the next couple of years. I really believe in this market. I think that there's, we're going to get up to the levels we were at a couple of years ago in price within 3 years. I almost can guarantee that.
Okay.
And anyway, anything else you want to talk about today, or
No, that's
no? I
it.
think we
That's all I'm
covered
thinking about. Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we appreciate your feedback. It's been great having those correspondence with people via email, and I get some text message, listen to the pod, and it's really neat. So I really appreciate the feedback, and I hope you enjoyed our latest episode, and we'll see you back here again soon.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
See you soon.